Apparently, Joe Biden is mostly mad at this point because no one pays attention to him inside the White House, which is really kind of sad and also hilarious. NBC News has a piece today titled, "Inside a Biden White House Adrift." It's adrift, guys. It's not that he's a bad leader, it's that it's just adrift. Faced with a worsening political predicament, President Joe Biden is pressing aides for a more compelling message and a sharper strategy, while bristling at how they've tried to stifle the plain-speaking persona that has long been one of his most potent assets. I love this. I love it so much. Because this is politicians in a nutshell, right? They take responsibility. They literally run for the office, and then they're like, why is everyone failing me? Why? So Joe Biden is a horrible communicator. He can barely get a sentence out of his face. I mean, his face hole just starts making sound, and when the sound comes out, it makes no sense. And then he's like, why aren't my aides allowing me to say what I want to say? My aides. Everybody's like, what did you say? And why won't you let Joey be Joey? Well, if we do, it just sounds as though you are spewing mashed potatoes from your face hole. But I want a guns with Kevlar deer and you shoot somebody with a gun and blows a lung out there. You're bad at this. This is the reason you're failing is because you're bad at this. Nope, not that. It must be because they have not been able to craft a more compelling message. Okay, I have a question. Could the best PR executive on planet Earth craft a compelling message for Joe Biden? Is that possible? There's just no way. I'm sorry, you can't sell new Coke. It doesn't matter how good your marketing department is. You ain't selling new Coke. It ain't happening. According to NBC News, Biden is rattled by his sinking approval ratings and is looking to regain voters' confidence that he can provide the sure-handed leadership he promised during the campaign, people close to the president say. Well, so here's the thing about sure-handed leadership. Typically, if I wouldn't want to put you behind the wheel of a car in a crowded area, I also don't think that you're going to be able to provide sure-handed leadership to the country. What about Joe Biden says sure-handed leadership at this point? He's basically stumbling into walls. He doesn't know where he is half the time. He says things that make no sense. He's slurring his words routinely and he's not drunk. Good luck with this mission, aides. In other missions, if you can come up with cold fusion, that'd help the administration. As long as we're just going for impossible things that might help Biden, let's do that. Crises have piled up in ways that have times made the Biden White House look flat-footed. I love how the way the media always pose this is, all these exogenous crises that just sort of randomly crop up while Joe Biden's president. Weird how that works, right? It's very weird. It's sort of how whenever Amelia Bedelia is in the house, just things get screwed up, just randomly. It has nothing to do with Amelia Bedelia being an idiot. It has to do with the fact that when she draws the curtains, she actually just draws the curtains. That happened to her. It wasn't a thing she did. Crises have piled up in ways that at times made the Biden White House look flat-footed. Record inflation, high gas prices, a rise in COVID case numbers. And now a Texas school massacre that is one more horrific reminder he has been unable to get Congress to pass legislation to curb gun violence. Democratic leaders are at a loss about how he can revive his prospects by November. I don't know what's required here, said James Clyburn, whose endorsement in the 2020 primaries helped rescue Biden's candidacy. But I do know the poll numbers have been stuck where they are for far too long. Speculation is churning Biden could shake up the West Wing staff. Although that's not about to happen right away. Multiple people close to the White House said they've heard Chief of Staff Ron Klain will depart at some point after the midterms. One has heard him discuss leaving. Should Klain go, a potential successor is Anita Dunn. Yeah, man, that ain't going to do it. Dunn began working at the White House at the start of the term, then left and returned in early May at Biden's specific request. No woman or person of color has ever been the White House Chief of Staff since the position was created after World War II. Well, Trump had a pretty close top political advisor named Kellyanne Conway, I seem to recall, but okay. And wasn't Valerie Jarrett super tight with Barack Obama? Anyway, other possible replacements include Steve Ricchetti, longtime Biden aide, who is counselor to the president, and Susan Rice, domestic policy chief. Terry McAuliffe is now speaking to the White House about taking a senior role as an advisor to the president. Terry McAuliffe. So your solution to giant failure is to take the former governor of Virginia, who's the head of the DNC and somehow lost the governorship of Virginia to Glenn Youngkin, and make that guy the guy. Just slow clap for the geniuses over at the Democratic Party in the White House. Wow. Man, that is a list of luminaries right there. Anita Dunn, who is most famous for putting a Mao ornament on a Christmas tree during the Obama administration, and Susan Rice, who's most famous for Benghazi, and Terry McAuliffe, who's most famous for losing to Glenn Youngkin. Geniuses. The White House did not make Klain or Dunn available for comment. Ron Klain spends most of his day proposing bad policy to Biden, then retweeting Ezra Klein. That's basically what his day looks like. It's like 8 to 9, propose bad policy to Joe Biden. 9 to midnight, retweet Ezra Klein. Any assessment of Biden's performance needs to take into account the epic challenges he faced from the start. I love that. That by the way, that is not, they didn't even add the usual qualifier experts say. Right? That experts say that you have to take into account all of the crises that he has faced. That is NBC News' objective coverage. Any assessment of Biden's performance needs to take into account the epic challenges he faced from the start. Weird, I don't remember them saying that about actual COVID and Trump being hit with that. Then it was just Trump's blowing this. How many Americans are dying? Joe Biden tweeting out, well, if 200,000 Americans die on your watch, then you ought not be president. And then like 700,000 Americans die on his watch. And he's like, because Matlock. Chris Whipple, the author of a new book about the White House chiefs of staff, is writing a book about the Biden presidency. He says, they came in with the most daunting set of challenges, arguably since FDR, only to be hit by a perfect storm of crises, from Ukraine to inflation to the supply chain to baby formula. What's next? Locusts? Oh, give me a freaking break. You ran for the office, my man. You wanted this. And not only, that's not even true. The Ukraine crisis did not exist when you took office. You created it by pulling out of Afghanistan and looking soft to Putin. The inflation crisis did not exist before you took office. You exacerbated it by blowing out the spending and not talking to Jerome Powell about loose monetary policy. Since when? He had the easiest runway. Honest to God, he had the easiest landing strip I've ever seen for an incoming presidential candidate. I said this at the time. He was coming in with a coma, with an economy that had been put into an involuntary coma. Right? It was an artificial coma. It was going to come out of it. He had a vaccine. He had American people who were exhausted by politics. All he had to do was just sit down and shut up and be dead, which was basically his mandate. And he couldn't do it. But now it's like, well, I can't. Why do all these bad things keep happening to Joe Biden? I just can't imagine. He's not bad at the job or anything. Just why does, it's weird that we keep having these nuclear radiation risks at Homer Simpson's workplace. Why is all of this happening to Homer Simpson? Biden wonders the same thing. I've heard him say recently, he used to say about the President Obama's tenure, everything landed on his desk but locusts. And now he understands how that feels, a White House official said. Amid a rolling series of calamities, Biden's feeling lately is he just can't catch a break. Oh, poor baby. Oh, he can't catch a break, guys. Be nice to old Joe. I mean, all he wants to do is just be your friend, and you won't be nice to Joe. Be nice to Joe. Biden is frustrated. If it's not one thing, it's another, said a person close to the president who is named the president. That last part, I added. An assumption baked into Biden's candidacy was that he would preside over a smoothly running administration by dint of decades of experience in public office. But there are signs of managerial breakdowns that have angered both him and his party. Oh, everyone's failing him. By the way, I do love the idea that he is wildly incompetent. For his entire senatorial career, he runs a couple of real crappy presidential campaigns, and then they're like, this guy's an expert. He's been here forever. You know, Bob in accounting, he's been here for 35 years. He must be great at this. Or maybe Bob was never made head of accounting because he sucked at this. Maybe that's the problem. Biden is annoyed. He wasn't alerted sooner about the baby formula shortage, and then he got his first briefing in the past month, even though the crisis has been long in the making. The White House did not specify when Biden got his first briefing on the formula shortage. Beyond policy, this is the best part. Biden is unhappy about a pattern that has developed inside the West Wing. He makes a clear and succinct statement, only to have aides rush to explain he actually meant something else. The so-called cleanup campaign, he has told advisors, undermines him and smothers the authenticity that fueled his rise. Worse, it feeds a Republican talking point he's not fully in command. This is the best part. I love that so much. So he says something absolutely incoherent with significant consequences. And his aides are like, I'm pretty sure he didn't mean that. He's like, how dare you undermine me? I mean exactly this crazy loony thing I just said. What did I say? I can't remember. The issue came to a head when Biden ad-libbed during a speech in Poland that Russian President Vladimir Putin cannot remain in power. Within minutes, Biden's aide tried to walk back his comments, saying he hadn't called for Putin's removal and the U.S. policy was unchanged. Biden was furious. His remarks were being seen as unreliable, arguing he speaks genuinely and reminding his staff that he's the one who is president. So does he mean that he does want Putin removed from office? Because if that's what he means, then that is a radical shift in American policy and might lead to nuclear war. So it feels like that walkback was probably not a bad thing. But Joanne's like, yeah, but it undermines my zabity. Why don't people take me seriously? Why is everyone, I go out there and I say something super clear, like, Shambhala simply go to Putin. And then you guys all come out and say our policy's unchanged. It's undermining my credibility. The genius says, Biden has vented to aides about not getting credit from Americans or the news media for actions he believes have helped the country, particularly on the economy. Unemployment rates have dropped to below 4%, but polling indicates most Americans believe the economy is in bad shape. Biden grouses Republicans aren't getting their share of the blame for legislative gridlock. Well, I mean, you do have a majority in both houses of Congress, dude. The president also says he doesn't think enough Democrats go on TV to defend him. Wait, who does this sound like? Who does this sound like? We were told that the adults were back in charge. Not people who spend all day watching cable news and about how everybody's mean to them. The adults, like Joe Biden. He's an adult, not like Donald Trump. That terrible bad man Donald Trump who spent all day just watching the TVs and then tweeting out policy ideas and having his aides walk it back and not getting things done. He'd be totally different. A particular sore spot is his slumping poll numbers. He's mystified. His approval rating has dropped to a level approaching that of his predecessor, Donald Trump. He's now lower than Trump. He's really twisted about it, another person close to the White House said. Maybe because he's a worse president than Trump. I know, blasphemy, but it happens to be the reality. So good times. I think Bernie's going to primary him, and it's going to be great. How's this for a title? Ben Shapiro Show subscriber destroys like button with clicks and logic. I'd watch that. Make it happen, gang.